What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Popcorn People Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, we are going to break down one of the most divisive films I think that has come out in quite some time, Alex Garland's Civil War. We'll talk about that, the box office, and some of the fallout and the aftermath that we've seen kind of back and forth on Twitter. As always, joined by my partner here, Mr. Don Fisher. How are you, buddy?
What's popping kernels? Man, I'm good, and it's funny that and I don't. The timing is such a crazy thing, whether it's the society and how things are going, but also, we just got done with the WrestleMania, which is kind of its own kind of civil war, and then you got Drake versus everybody, hip hop civil war. So it's a crazy ass weekend right now, crazy week really.
Everybody's throwing punches. You know what I mean? Like everybody's throwing punches, and I'm the only one that can throw only one-sided punches right now. So nobody's swinging me right now. You know what I mean? I'm over here rehabbing. This is basically all I've got able to do in life right now is the video things because I can't really type right now. One hand in typing, folks. Listen, if you ever have to have shoulder surgery, which is I had to do, a tore labrum, cut the bicep off the tendon, attach it to the bone. If you ever had that done, don't underestimate it because that's exactly what I did. All it has done is led to a lot of depression. So don't do that. But speaking of depression, let's talk about Civil War in a minute. But before we jump into the movie itself, I do want to point out it had the biggest box office in the history of A24, first off, which is amazing because I was really hoping that people were going to turn out for this film. Yeah. $25.6 million. But to put in perspective, not only is it a new studio record for A24, what's also impressive about Civil War's opening, it's only one of the 8 original films to open above $25 million post-COVID.
Shit.
Only the second R-rated one after Nope. This is crazy. First off, that's kind of depressing if you really think about it, because time and time again, I see it all the time. I see it all the time on Twitter. I see people complaining about it in comments. I see it complaining everywhere else, is the simple fact that we don't have original films. Yep. However, there's original movies that come out and then nobody shows up.
Exactly.
So it's like, at what point do you start showing up? And apparently they showed up for Civil War. And I think people showed up for this based on the discussion. Everybody was talking about it. It's one of those films that I have seen either people really like it or people just flat out think it's garbage. And it is crazy, and we'll dissect a little bit of that in a little bit. But, Dom, what is your reaction kind of to the box office numbers there?
Man, I'm really happy. I honestly thought it would be a little more, just a little bit. But because I think this is one of those films where it's a cultural thing where you want to be part of the conversation. You don't want to feel left out. You want to be able to say, yeah, I saw it. Because I think this could potentially be, we'll see in like a month, a culture shifting type of film where we do, once we get into, we have to look at the bigger picture and say, hey, like, where are we going? So this is a very important film. And the numbers are I think it's gonna keep jumping up, at least for the next 2 weeks. And that, it's A24. So we already knew the quality was going to be good. But no, it's crazy to see. And I'm glad that this company allows these people to produce these things that are able to, on a lot of times, like a shoestring type budget compared to the huge studios that we all know. But yeah, like the numbers is kind of crazy. Our screening was pretty packed, and it was an IMAX theater, so like it was impressive. It's really impressive.
Yeah, I think that what played a big factor in this entire thing was. Is it important? Yeah, that's definitely something we'll delve into a little bit as well. For me, this is the thing. So this is the problem that I have about the film. And let's talk about the box office first. What I love about the box office is people showed up for the film. I love that 100%. Like, I love people are showing up for these original products. They're talked about whether divisive or not, whether it's you're in the middle, whether you hated it. I do think that the hate part of it is really just ludicrous in some aspect. I think people that are out and routes calling this like the worst film ever. First off, I beg of you to watch more movies. And also just like, I feel like there's a lot of people reading a lot more into the movie than they should be, but that's neither here or there as well. But box office, very, very happy with it. They said even it got a B- cinema score, which really doesn't bode well for the film. However, it is such a divisive film that it's going to have that sort of score going into the next few weeks. It'll see what kind of legs it has. I think it probably has like a 60% drop next week, which is probably significant. But if the film gets around 50, 60 million worldwide, I still think it's at least going to break even, which I think is important for this type of film. They gave the film $50 million budget, pretty decent sized budget for an A24 film. So It is exciting to see that type of budget. I really like the film. I really like what he did with the film, and we'll talk more about it. But that being said, I really feel like we're going to dive right into the movie.
Yeah. Civil War. In a dystopian future, a team of military-embedded journalists race against time to reach Washington, D.C. before rebel factions descend upon the White House. And directed by Alex Garland, stars Kirsten Dunst, Wagner Moura, Kaylee Spaney, Jesse Plemons, Nick Offerman, Stephen McKinley Henderson. I'll let you go first. I'll let you dive in this first.
All right. So over the last few years, Garland has had some highs and lows in the directors and the writing aspect of things, where people have kind of talked about some ups and downs, right? When the Civil War kind of had its debut, it caused a hell of a stir all over social media, because you had the one side, like I mentioned, some people have called it a masterpiece, others calls it the worst movie of the decade. I was really interested to see what side of the fence I would really end up on, because it could really go either way. The social divide in the world has been the forefront of our political atmosphere since, I'm sorry to say it, but since Donald Trump entered the fold. You know what I mean? People more than ever feel very one-sided when it comes to the political atmosphere, instead of seeing the potential of both sides. Dom and I have these conversations all the time. I personally believe what Alex Garland does right here is he told the story of Civil War through the eyes of the photojournalists who did their jobs and didn't choose a side. He also doesn't, in my opinion, force the audience to pick a side either. Now, if you do, I think that's on you and maybe your self-reflection of what you're watching in the film. However, as a general audience, as a movie critic, I didn't feel like Garland was shoving any political aspect of things in my face and saying, you have to pick a side. Now, when we see this film, you kind of have the rookie and the veteran, right? You've got the veteran in Lee, who's Kirsten Dunst, who's the photojournalist who's seen it all. One of the most beautiful things about Alex Garland and what he does in this film is those flashbacks. You see the pain, the agony, and everything in between that Lee has gone through in her entire career. However, I think where you see the flip side of things are, you see this character in other countries watching that unfold. You see a photojournalist in action trying to capture that shot. But when it's hitting home, I think that's where it starts to take a toll on her as a character. Then, of course, you enter Jessie, who's the newer to photojournalist, who basically weasels her way into this trip with Lee, Joel, and Sammy as they head to D.C. to talk to the president. She's scared. She's timid. She wants to be like Lee, but doesn't have the kind of cojones to be Lee yet, right? You know what I mean? And of course, along the way, we kind of witness these aftermaths of the world around them collapsing. Each city as they pass through, this looked like straight out of any Walking Dead episode or any other disaster movie or series you've seen. But unlike so many horror movies that have come out in recent time, Alex Garland put these like jaw-dropping, scary moments that completely catch you off guard. There's just like a gunshot that goes off at the most random times. And I can't tell you how many times it jolted me. Of all people, like, I don't jump at all. This scared the shit out of me. But what I think that was so profound about it, in horror movies, you're chasing the jump scare. In this, I didn't believe it was for that shock and awe. I thought that each one served its purpose to the overall story. And then, like, just the the dynamic between Lee and Jesse as these characters develop throughout the entirety of the film, you see a flip flop. You know what I mean? You see a side of Lee, and I'm not going to dive too much into it. It's still new, so I don't want to dive too much into it. But you see the veteran kind of, it's starting to take a toll, and then you start to see Jesse, which I want to say this real quick. This is one of the things that I've seen so many people say about Jesse's character, Cailee Spaeny, that she's just aimlessly wandering around and nobody was like, oh no, what are you doing? First off, that's not necessarily true. We see, I think it's Joel, pull her so many different times, and then even Kristen at some instances. However, she's a photojournalist trying to capture the shot. Once she gets that adrenaline sinking into her bones, it's all about capturing that shot. And that to me was such a beautiful piece of storytelling. And Cailee Spaeny just absolutely knocks it out of the ballpark for me with such a brilliantly just capturing this essence of innocence and developing into a full-fledged monster, I guess you could say, but maybe not just like this. We all fiend for that high. My high is going to the movie theater and finding a movie that makes me feel like I just disappear from the universe. You know what I mean? And that's what I felt like Jesse was chasing. And I got more to say, but Dom, I'm going to let you have.
Yeah, she learned how to detach. That was the whole thing.
Right, exactly. I just can't say to my point. She was hard-headed.
Exactly. Yeah.
We've all been there.
She was green. She didn't know what she was doing, and what she was getting herself into. For me, if anybody has kind of like read my reviews, I tend to focus on like the social aspect of every single film, whether the aspect is very small and kind of out of the way or the glaring social content. And this one, when we saw the title card, when the first poster, I was like, why the hell are we making this movie? I didn't want all this kind of fervor in the air because we already have this powder keg of the internet, and with an election coming up, it's getting even worse. I was like, why is this a thing? And part of that was like a one-sided mind for myself, because what I thought what I saw online was going to directly correlate to what this film was going to be, which was going to be a race civil war, not like a political stance. And what was really well done was the term apolitical is thrown around a lot talking about this movie, and there's almost no politics really mentioned or talked about, besides some trigger words where you hear about like this president wanted a certain thing. I won't kind of spoil anything, and then a group that we've hear the name all the time talked about another group of people gets massacred. But yeah, taking this journey through a what's the word? A kind of objective observer to just kind of capture what's going on is you really see the essence of what journalism is, because we live in this bubble where you have certain groups or certain organizations, NBC or MSNBC, CNN, they have their side, and then you have Fox and whatever else, News Nation, all these other ones, they have their side, and everyone is just, who do you want to read, and what kind of echo chamber do you want to be in? And this one, because it is from an outside source, it is from the outside looking in, we're seeing ourselves in totality on how barbaric, how idiotic, how foolish we look, fighting over stuff that a lot of time has nothing to do with us. It's the people making decisions who create this divisiveness, that creates this civil war, essentially. But I mean, when it comes just to watching something thrilling, watching something terrifying, for one, like something like Midsommar, where it takes place in the daytime and you still get this creepy horror feeling, that's what this movie does. And when you look it up, it says action. This is action. This is horror. This is drama. but just having this happen in daytime is terrifying when you can drive by and see bodies hanging from bridges, when you see people having these firefights that are intense as shit. This is like being in a foxhole. This is kind of like Good Morning Vietnam at certain points where you're like, oh, I'm in the shit. I see all this happening. The bullets are flying right by me. The agony and the desperation you can feel throughout the film. It is crazy to see these arcs. The one thing with Garland, I think with what's the character's name? Joel. So this is the one. There's one scene at the end where I think there's an argument that could be made and probably will be made that Garland did pick a side. And at first, I initially thought this way. I was like, man, I think he kind of did. But then I think the film asks the question, for one, is this the America we want to live in? And then finally asks the question, if all this happens, then what? Because none of us know. And I think that's why it does become an important film, because it asks the important questions. We can go down this road, but what's going to happen? What's the next step? What's the end game? And we all know when things are overthrown, when things are taken over, it's just more chaos usually. And, is this when it all crumbles? So it is as intense. It's shot fucking incredible. The sound design is, man, like it's gonna, like you said, it does make you jump. Normally, I don't physically jump in a movie, but I can feel like the insides, like my whole organs are like, oh shit, what is going on? And that did happen a few times because it is like, if you've ever been to a gun range, it sounds like you're directly beside somebody shooting high caliber artillery. But yeah, I think it's worth seeing if you're on the fence about it. I think this is one that you take somebody with you, and even if you want to take somebody who is a little bit, opposite of your mindset, that y'all are friends, but maybe y'all think a little different, because I think this is where the conversation starts. And just like kids, you tell a kid every day a certain thing, and it never gets through their head until someone from the outside of your circle tells them the exact same thing. And then they go, oh, I learned this thing. And you're like, I've been telling you this. So for someone from the outside, I think he's British, right? For him to tell us this is what you look like, maybe people will start paying attention.
Yeah, and the thing about it for me is it's crazy to think, because like I said, the film very divisive. You know what I mean? From different people across the board, which is fine. Again, I really don't speak about when films are divisive, but I also feel sometimes I feel need to speak up about where I think the conversation is skewed in a way where I think people kind of miss the point.
Yeah.
And I don't think whether you like the film or not is something I'll never like tell anybody they need to like a film or whether they don't. If you didn't like the film, that's perfectly fine. Because I even said that in my review. There's going to be people that don't like the film, and that's perfectly fine. However, spinning a narrative within the film is where I think that it's wrong. You know what I mean? And I agree. Sure, like I said, if you want to feel like Garland is sending a message of what side you need to be on, sure, whatever. You roll your boat. That's fine. But I just don't see a bad movie here. That's my biggest thing. I don't know. To me, it's my second favorite movie of the year. I almost went 4 stars. It's the first movie I've seen, I think, since Past Lives, maybe, and first film that I've seen like this, maybe in a long time, where I thought about it every single day after.
Right.
Now, could that be because I have nothing but time on my hands right now? Probably. But I also believe that Alex Garland really created something different, unique, and fresh. And if this film comes out maybe 10 years ago, no, maybe longer than that, maybe 15 years ago, I think this is a whole different conversation surrounding the film, and possibly people talking about one of the best movies of a decade, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think if you take the political landscape that we're in right now out of the conversation, this movie is a great film. I loved it. I want to see it again. I'm dying to see it again. I wanted to see it again this weekend. I just didn't have time to. But it's like almost everything out of me to go see it like Wednesday before our screening on Wednesday. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I really just want to see it again really, 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 really badly. So
Yeah, I think it features. I think it features two of the most like heightened, palpable, tension-filled moments that I've seen in a while. You have the one scene that involves Jesse Plemons that we've all seen kind of in the trailer where he's
first
kind
off,
of like
that movie was in the movie. The man that was in that movie for like 5 minutes
and made a huge
and
impact.
made just a monumental impact.
And I think that, and you know what too? I think the people who say they don't like this movie, like you said, it's a personal problem because maybe you're seeing what you may be representing outwardly, and you're like, that's not me. But that scene, and then also this climactic kind of firefight when everything's about to come to a head, and that's when you start seeing the this flip that we talked about, and it's just crazy to see like this panic but also this stoicism and this like rush of like adrenaline, and then you just have you have the Joel character who it's just weird because in the movie he's playing the middleman. He's playing both sides of his own people because he has an end goal himself, but he's like, okay, I want this person around because that's my homie. Another one, I think she's kind of cute, so I want her along. And then you have the OG like as the voice of reason, and it's it's when we watch movies, there is always these different characters with different personalities, but this one, it seems so organic, because when we get into our critic circles, when we're after a screening, a lot of us we think very differently. You have one person, this movie's 10 stars, and this person's like, I hated it, and we all have our different reasons why. But that's what this group on this pre-dystopian road trip feels like. They are all in the same field. They disagree on certain shit, but they all have a goal that can be unified together, and it makes it feel really, really organic.
Yeah, like I said, yeah, it's one of the more impressive films that I've seen of recent, and I really, really enjoyed this film, and yeah, like I really genuinely cannot wait to watch it again. I'm really anxious, excited. I love seeing I kind of love seeing the divide on it, but the aspect of what I don't like seeing the divide on, it is just the side of stupidity that really bothers me. You know what I mean? I just feel like there's a level of we're bringing too much of the real world into this film. At the end of the day, it is a movie. And I think you said it best. Like if you're seeing a reflection of something, maybe that's like saying something about how you see things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think I said this to you before or earlier this week. What the big talk before the movie release was we all got to see that map of the factions that have been cultivated in this film, and people kept saying, oh, this Western Front, Texas and California would never team up. That's where you get this creative movie part. Garland knows this. He knows this, but he's not saying this is reality. He's saying this is what it looks like. So to take out the reality aspect of this happening, you put together things that don't mesh, they clash, but you make it work for the film, and that way you can remove your everyday life from this and just view it as like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. And you can either just look at it as, like you said, an action thriller horror film, or you can just look at it as this is what the outside world sees from us.
Yeah, and I think one of my favorite lines of the movie is will you shoot it when it happens?
Oh yeah.
And that line rings true so many different times, but in the most pivotal moment of the film, it came true. And it was just again, it's another reason why I really want to rewatch this film is because I just feel like there's even parts of the film I might have missed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I just haven't felt this passionate about a
Yeah.
film in a long time. I would genuinely be shocked if this film is not in my top 10 at the end of the year. And I'll be genuinely shocked if this is not on my ballot of some sort. Because honestly, I think the screenplay is razor sharp. And
Yeah.
also, I'd like to mention real quick, the runtime was perfect.
Yeah.
Like sometimes with A24, you get a little bit of a bloated mess on certain films. This one, perfectly paced, perfectly timed, perfect execution all across the board. I can't, again, kudos, as you said, kudos to A24 for giving Garland and other filmmakers the platform to deliver a film like this, because it takes a lot of courage and a lot of balls to let Garland make this film and release it in the year that it was released.
Especially with that title, because I'm sure they had
I would love to sit. Listen, A24. Let us talk to Alex Garland about this movie, and let us ask us the hard questions about. I want to know if there was ever a hard time that he got for the name of this film.
Yeah, was there any other ones? And it was like, nah, this is provocative. I needed this title.
Exactly. So, all right, before we go, let's go ahead and dive into some watch recommendations. All right, as we do each and every week on the podcast, we do share some thoughts about some of the things that we've been watching as of recently. I'll go through a few things. Let's see here. The Bray Wyatt documentary on Peacock. If you're a fan of professional wrestling, you're a fan of Bray Wyatt, please watch it. Fantastic documentary. I really loved it a whole lot. There's a new movie on Netflix, kind of flew under the radar. It's called Scoop. It was inspired by the real events. This fictional dramatization gives an insider look of how the women of Newsnight secured the Chris Andrews interview. Thought it was very good.
Yeah.
Performances in that. I found myself enjoying that. It's on Netflix right now. I watched Dave Attell's most recent special. Wasn't a huge fan. I feel like I watched another special recently. I don't remember what it was though. Where's mine? How do I look at my stuff? Here we go. Profile. Fallout. Watch Fallout. Really, really enjoyed Fallout quite a bit, actually. I kind of enjoyed that series a whole lot more than I thought I would. Check out my review of that over on the Fandom Wire. Sorry. There we go. Let's see here. I watched anything else. I can't think of anything else. I don't want to talk about Late Night of the Devil. I didn't like that movie. Yeah, I hated it actually.
Oh no.
Oh man, yeah, I really hated that movie a lot actually. I gave it 1 star, but
Oh no.
what? Programming note. Tomorrow night, Dom and I are going to be at the world premiere of Unsung Heroes. We're going to be having live footage from there. You can make sure to follow us both on social media. We're going to have a lot of cool footage from that. And then Wednesday, we're going to see Abigail. By the way, I'm very upset that I didn't realize Regal was doing a Ministry of Justice of Madness or whatever the hell the name of that movie is with Henry Cavill. They had a screening of that Saturday for like Regal members. And I'm mad because like we have a pretty packed week this week. And it's jam-packed a lot of screenings. We could have one, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'm not going to go to Tuesdays just because, but Wednesday's Abigail. Very excited about that. I fully support Melissa Barrera, and I will pay to go see it on top of that just because I want to give her box office. Dom, what have you watched recently that has kind of tickled the pickle, man?
Well, so, Sting a couple weeks ago. I thought it was cool, and it was it's a lot of fun. I like a film like that. I've seen a lot more where the stories have like a stepdad, and I'm a stepdad, so like there's certain things that like a lot of people won't or don't see or understand being in that role. So it's kind of cool to see this stuff play out. But I ended up watching another spider creature feature in Infested. And when you compare the two, and I only compare the two because they are both in the same genre and involve spiders, Infested is a lot more terrifying. So if you want a little I mean, if you have any kind of like a touch of like super panic when you see spiders, Infested is not for you because it will make your skin crawl. On the other hand, though, Sting is a little cuter. It's still a little terrifying, but it's a little cuter. But Infested is like my body itches. I legitimately had a nightmare, or not necessarily a nightmare, but like a dream destroyer. Nice little dream, and then I had a spider jump in my face. I don't have those kind of dreams. This movie kind of fucked with me. We of course we saw Monkey Man. I thought Monkey Man was cool as shit. I love Dev Patel, and man, I like Late Night with the Devil, man. I thought it was cool, man. Like I fuck with it. And then I did start Fallout. The first episode was really good. I can't say that I played the game like that. I've seen gameplay, but I'm not a huge gamer. So I'm invested into the story and what's taking place, and I thought it was well done so far. And what else did I start? I've been kind of, on my life balance shit, so I haven't caught up on everything that I wanted to.
I'll tell you what I watched. I watched Tournament of Champions on HBO Max. Like, it's a cooking show. I love cooking shows, first off. Like, Manit Showing won the season 5 of it. But it's like a battle of all the chefs. They have like this March of Madness. She's fantastic. I interviewed her once. She's the nicest person in the world. But like, she won it. They're having a new show which I'm very excited to check it out. It's gonna be on HBO Max too. It's called 24 Chefs, 24 Hours, something like that. Hang on, I got the thing pulled up still, I think. Yep, 24 chefs face 24 challenges in 24 straight hours in an all new series, 24 and 24 Last Chef Standing. Very excited to check this out because basically it features 24 talented and fearless chefs who take on 24 food challenges in 24 consecutive nonstop hours. The 24-hour competition challenge takes the chefs to extreme demanding skills, blah, blah, blah. Cash prize of $50,000 and win a trip of a lifetime. But that sounds exhilarating. But it sounds like something that'd be right up my alley because I love me some cooking shows.
Right. Oh, and last night, me and the wife, we did watch Jolt. It's all right. They're trying to.
I can't hear you.
Can you
hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
What the hell's going on?
Me and the wife watched Jolt. With Kate Beckinsale. It was all right. They're trying to make this a big franchise, it seems like. The premise is kind of cool. The execution, not so much. I don't know. This is my thing. And I know this might sound kind of, I don't know. It can sound however it sounds. I grew up around martial arts. I grew up around football. I've known plenty of fighters, bodybuilders, and all these things. Anybody that weighs under 200 pounds is going to have a difficult time with somebody like me, even without me having trained extensively in martial arts. You're going to have a difficult time. That's all I'm going to say. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. Like, I martial arts is, if you're prolific, you can take down damn near anybody. But even Bruce Lee, Jet Li, Tony Jaa, Jackie Chan, Michael Jai White, Wesley Snipes, these motherfuckers have problems with gigantic dudes. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, even the best martial artist is going to come across somebody that may not, like, I don't know if you guys have seen, there's a bodyguard influencer named Kane Kong. This dude is probably like 6'8", probably like 350 solid. You're going to have problems. It's like Tom Holland fighting Thanos with no powers. You're going to have problems. So I just need, I can step out and enjoy, just like, oh, that's cool looking. But at some point you go, all right, okay, you're right, do better.
Yeah, exactly. All right, folks, that is it for this week's episode of the Popcorn People Podcast. We'll be back next week. It should be a fun episode next week. Like I said, we'll be back from the Unsung Hero world premiere, along with seeing Abigail and anything else that we see, anything that we watch in between. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Peace.